Hello, it's me, Annalisa, with my spiritual friend. I am back. It's Sunday, November 27th, 2022. Pulling a pillow behind my back. I hope everybody is well. All of that. Oh, it's my straw. I hope everybody is well and had a wonderful, if you celebrate Thanksgiving, had a good Thanksgiving. If you don't, you had a good week. I got a new little plant here. I need to replant it. Little rubber tree. I have my other plants down there. I need to do something with it. I'm going to rearrange this and all of that. My kids finally went back to school last week on Wednesday. All of them after getting over the flu. So it's pretty rampant right now, along with everything else, RSV, COVID, strep. I am getting offers left and right to go back to nursing because I was a pediatric nurse for like $7 or $8 grand a week for 8-week assignments. So it's bad when they're offering to pay that much for a pediatric nurse. That's all I'm saying. Okay, who's here? Who wants to go? I've got Deborah, Nicole, Ellen, and Allie. I've got Ellen's question first, but she's not first on the list. So I want to give those people a chance first, and then if not, I'll answer it. I am considering about reopening my psychic development circles, which will probably be 4 weeks instead of 6 weeks. No, really 6 weeks. Once a week is a bit. Hi, Ellen. I'm just seeing who else is here. 6 weeks is a bit of a whatever. Energetically, I think a lot of people are doing a whole bunch of release. Many of you may notice that some old people that you have. I just wanted to see, Ellen, real quick, if Deborah is here or Nicole, and then I'll just do yours if not. I think right now a lot of people are going through a big release, and also like old people coming back. Old people coming back into their lives that they have recently cut off to either try to make amends or just stir up more shit. I've had both. So, but I feel like that's happening with a lot of people. That's okay. That's part of what happens when there's big shifts energetically. Deborah, do you have something going on with your throat? And I say that because as soon as I read your question, I just felt really kind of tight or something in my throat. Like maybe it was bothering me a little sore. You're having the allergy problems. Oh, okay. Please don't think this is personal. I always sort of forget that. And it's not because I don't care. It's just that I sort of, when I do readings, I'm essentially disassociating in a way. I don't know any other way to put it, but it's like if you disassociate, you're kind of not really present. So I'm really not, like, my conscious mind's not very present, even though I'm rambling here. I'm usually rambling whatever they're telling me to ramble. So initially what I felt when I was asking you and kind of waiting is the feeling like, yes, it will, but it feels like it takes a little bit of a different direction. So, and like not too far into it. So it's not like a rebranding but like, it feels like maybe 2 months in, less than 6 months in, but feels like I'm getting closer to 2, where you take it just a slightly different direction. So maybe you've envisioned the small business where you're selling everything on Etsy, and then you decide that you want to move over to Shopify. Like, it's not a massive change, but it's a different direction just based on, it feels like, so like, the best way I can say is, and I know other people who run smaller businesses have this happen, or as you start to be an entrepreneur and like building your own business, you learn from things kind of like not working out as smoothly as you wanted to. So while it's frustrating in the process, you learn a lot, and you also learn to like set healthier boundaries. So I'm giving small examples. When I first started doing readings, I just had a flat rate and I just did the longest, I'd be like for however long it lasts, which is insane. Actually, when I really first started reading, like all the way back in 2008, and I was like afraid to ask for money for a reading, or I was afraid to set rates because I didn't know my worth and value. I asked for people to donate. I was like, it's just donate whatever you want, right? And one woman, I love her and she's wonderful. And I do not, but she gave me, she was a hairdresser and she gave me a nice bottle of shampoo. But I thought, no. Like, so it's sort of one of those things of like, and then I was like, no, I'm setting a rate from then on. And then, I set a pretty low rate, nominal amount, and like over time increased. So it just feels like whatever it is, it feels something similar. It's like small. I do feel like, I don't feel like, oh, this is a bad idea. Don't do that. I literally felt like, no, it's good. It's just going to be a slight shift about 2 months in on how you decide to do it. Maybe it's something where you decide like I did. It's not huge. It was just like, oh, I'm going to set my rates instead of asking for people to donate. So maybe it's like you decide to make people, like if it's a service you're offering, I don't know what you're doing, honestly. I'm not getting that, but it's just this feeling of like, whatever it is, it's a slight shift in doing it slightly different, but about 2 months in, it's maybe because you realize the frustration. So for me, I used to I'd book with people. I'd let people book an appointment with me. And then I'd be like, okay, well, now you need to pay. And then like, they wouldn't pay. And it'd be like, we're supposed to have this appointment and you haven't even paid me yet. And you wanted me to hold my time for you. Like it became frustrating. So now I have a rule of you pay for the reading before you get any access to appointment time. I don't have a calendar up yet. I probably will insert that, but it's one of those things of learning as you go. And like 2 months in, you realize like, I need to shift this slightly. So it's something you're not able to envision right now. It's not something I'm picking up. It just feels like whatever this is, it's a slightly different, done in a slightly different direction than maybe I had thought. It works out fine. It's okay. But I feel like when this comes up, you may have this idea of being like, I should give up, rather than just shifting it slightly and you go off and you're doing fine. That's all. I spent lots of time getting frustrated about stuff. And then I realized like, this is okay. This is like, maybe it's not a conventional service. Maybe certain people don't value it the way they value other people's time. But that's why you have to set that. So it feels like you're going to have to be really right. So then if it's strictly online, it might be something where it's like, maybe I have people reach my services through Etsy initially. And then I decide I'm getting tired of the way Etsy's doing things and the things here. So I'm going to do it through Shopify, or I'm going to like that. It's something like that. It's not going to be, which is the initial one I said. So it feels like they're going to work. It's going to work out, but there's going to be a shift that you're not foreseeing. Just, it feels like don't give up. It's just going to be a shift of direction slightly. And it may be just, again, maybe I was doing it through Etsy. Now I want to sell through Shopify. Or maybe was selling through Shopify and I want to do it through Etsy, because I think Etsy takes care of state taxes if you're selling a product. That's all. Your sinusitis is not getting better. You take a probiotic. Is there something going on with your left knee? Because I'm like randomly rubbing my left knee. Yes. I always think that's funny because I think, oh, I'm just randomly doing this. Like, you might think, oh, she just does that. Nope. And I've learned to trust that my guys are like, hi, Mallory. Okay, I'll check. Mm-hmm. So then, especially since I know I'm connecting in your energy and I got the knee thing, I really do feel like I'm sticking with this. Like, it's an idea that's going to work, but it feels like be open to understanding that. And I'm sure you are. It's just maybe a reinforcement of this, of understanding that when you start a business, however big or small, they're going to be there is going to be learning as you go, where you're like, oh, this doesn't work anymore. Like, I thought I could do it this way, but then I realized, like, I spent so much time being frustrated when I was chasing people for the money. And I'm like, this whole thing is energetic. Like, what do people not get about that? Like, if you make somebody feel like garbage, like you want somebody like me to be in there like tip top, like you don't want your surgeon to perform your surgery after he's been on like a night out of drinking. You want somebody who's like head in the game, ready to go. All right. Sorry for chewing off. Nicole, if you are here, and then Ellen and Allie, I'll check who's paying. All right, Mallory, I got you on the list too. If you notice this year, I'm not doing 100% of donations the way I have done in the years past, because I realized that I was actually through doing 100% through the whole holiday season and then 30% all year long. I was actually donating 30% of my entire income for the year, which is a lot. And while I like donating, I don't think anybody else donates. The church doesn't even ask you to tithe that much. So I'm just keeping it at 30%. And I hope you all understand. What kind of meds? What do you mean? Oh, probiotics. So look up Quadbiotic. It has a pre and probiotic and then some other stuff for digestive that helps with your gut. I don't know why the sinusitis won't clear. I'm sorry, I don't know any better than that. I wish I could say, like, do the nutty pot, there could be some general inflammation in your body from like either having leaky gut or having food sensitivity stuff. So when I eat wheat, you would think, oh, well, if you eat something that doesn't sit right with you, you'll have gut issues. Well, no, I have, like, my muscles in my neck get stiff and weird. And I wake up the next day with like sore, painful neck until I haven't eaten wheat for like 2 days. And then that goes away. And it's literally like, I've tested it to see, like, am I crazy that this is, and it's like, no, when I eat wheat, my muscles get really tight and irritated, especially my traps on my neck. So it might be like cut out wheat and dairy for a little bit. Hi, Raka. Dairy, like, again, like, not really so much the stomach issues, but I was noticing I was like tired all the time. And listen, I was trying to get my protein in. So I was eating my skyr every day and I love skyr. But, oh yeah, I eat meat. Sorry. But I was noticing it was making me like a zombie. You got rid of dairy so I noticed, like, with my daughter, we talk a lot about looking at not as food as bad or good, just how does it affect our body? How do we feel about it? Like, what affects my body one way doesn't necessarily affect them. So, like, if I choose not to eat wheat or dairy, it's not that wheat or dairy is bad. It's just my body doesn't like it. So I'm really trying to focus on healthy food relationships. Because I think it's too easy to fall into this like obsessive food thing. And I focus on, for me, eating a lot of fiber, because fiber helps remove excess hormones from your body and process things easier, and it keeps your gut healthy. And a healthy gut is really connected to a lot of mental health issues and other health issues in your body. So I do a quad biotic, and like my hair fallout has decreased significantly since I've made changes, but I did not make them all at once. I made them slowly over time, and I would add one. So I took the dairy out and I noticed I wasn't so tired, but it was still a little tired. And so I started taking, and I took the wheat out, noticed no more neck pain. And then the next change I made was I started including an iodine supplement because I noticed that I just looked at it and I was like, oh, well, I don't eat enough of the foods that would give me enough supplement of iodine in my diet. No, but dairy may cause inflammation in your body, which then if you have inflammation in your body and you have some other issue going on, it's harder for your immune system to fight that and all the other inflammation going on. Yeah. So if you eliminate the other things that are causing inflammation, it lets your body calm down a little bit and then actually your immune system to get in a better place. So it's not a matter of, so like then I added and then like the quad biotic is the last most recent thing, and I was like, oh, my hair fallout is significantly less. Hi, Nicole. So it's not, to me, it's not like, oh, here's this one thing, this is the solution. It's sort of a process, and being willing to work through that process. I'll check, Rathka. That might have been my buzz on my phone. It's being willing to be patient and work through the process. A while ago, I had taken a test through my chiropractor who focuses on nutrition and sort of like a holistic approach. And he was like, just see what bothers your body. And it was really incredible how many things that were causing inflammation. Okay, Nicole. What should you work on this week to make communication better with Dave? First of all, I like the first like initial thing I felt was like such pride and smiling, because it's this feeling of like that you really are doing the work and willing to do the work. So I just wanted to like smile and honor that, because it is not hard. It is not easy. Like when our guides are like, oh, you should be doing this. And you're like, it's scary. It's not easy. It's a process. It's hard. Healing is hard. So give yourself a big hug. You may not be perfect yet. That's okay. The fact that you're even just trying is huge. I feel like I want to recognize this feeling of like that things are a little bit lighter and more playful between you and him. So I started feeling really tight in my jaw here, and I was like, "Oh, do you have TMJ?" And they're like, "No, it's his." So I feel like, did you know if he has like pressure in his jaw, like right at the joint? It's such a heaviness, or if he has TMJ. Oh, thank you, Davri. So I think it's his. So I'm not worried about his brother, but that would, so because it could be like a family thing. So then I'm feeling okay. So I gotta say that I feel right about feeling like he's got a lighter energy about it. He feels more comfortable, and like it just feels more relaxed. The energy feels more relaxed and playful rather than that on edge feeling. So they said, they're like, it's not that you need to change anything else or make anything. It's like, keep doing what you're doing. So instead of immediately going to that place of like, what do they call it? like a fatalistic thought process of like, oh my God, he didn't text me back in 5 minutes. The world is ending. He hates me now. Where it's just like, oh yeah, he's busy. Like if you're just like, whatever, of course he wants to be with me. He's just busy. Like they're saying like that's actually really healthy to keep doing that. Just to not automatically assume that he hates you or that he's like, ready to run away. So it's not really so much of doing something new or adding a new assignment. And it's like, keep doing what you're doing because it's working. And it's not about working for him. Okay. It's helping you heal. It's working for you. Because isn't it nicer to not feel like those racy, worried thoughts of just finding some peace and like being like, like it's normal. It's a very strange expectation to expect people to respond in a certain amount of time. And sometimes I do that, especially, like if I think I've offended somebody, because I do that sometimes. And I don't do it intentionally, but sometimes I, like, whatever. That's also my own trauma of like, like being a complete people pleaser, fun, and all of that stuff, and all those like neurodivergent, and just worrying, like not holding my face just right, and not realize I'm not holding my face just right, and offending people and pissing people off, and blah 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 blah. Yeah, I piss you off sometimes, Devery. Sorry. Thank you, Rafka. Look, I don't tell you what I get. It's not always, I'm not your sugarcoater. I'm not the one that's gonna like, I'm telling you what I get. And it's because I value you. And I value what I do. And I don't want to lie. Just so you feel better in the moment. Like, I want you to know that like sometimes things suck, but you're going to go through it, and they're saying it's going to get better. Or sometimes it's hard, and it's not that you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. Sometimes it's just a matter of just learning to like, reparent, be kind, love yourself. It's because I do all of these readings that I 1,000% believe in affirmations and being kind to yourself. So you're not doing anything wrong. You're doing everything right now, Nicole. They're saying don't change. Like, just keep doing the work for yourself. Keep building your own confidence. Because you deserve that. You deserve to feel good and happy and love yourself. I don't know if you're crying right now, but I just feel like that heaviness, that choking back, not like choking, like the holding in tears. We just spend so much time like not liking ourselves, and it's not just a you, it's not just and I think it comes from a lot of places, not just families. It comes from like the capitalistic society we live in, which, listen, I'm not saying capitalism is bad, but there's greed behind it. And there's a way that people like the whole marketing philosophy where they study people and they realize if you find your insecurity, then that's a great way to feed somebody into their product. People feed on other people's insecurities, and it's unfortunate. I don't know. I'm rambling. Okay, let's go. So you're fine. You're doing what they're showing me is like that. The air and the energy is much lighter. So don't stop what you're doing or think that you need to add anything else in. Like, I think the thing we get in when we start to do the healing work and we start to do like manifestation work, where you look at a lot about self-concept and belief systems, people go, okay, what else am I going to do? What else am I going to do? And you want to add more. And it's like, nah. When you start learning a language, when you start learning an instrument, you're in the basics for a while. You don't just like go, okay, well, I figured out that one, I now know how to put my hands on the keyboard. So now I'm going to jump to something where I'm doing very complex. Pick somebody, Chopin, Mozart, Bach, Beethoven, whoever else. You're not going to be there. You sit on the basics and get the muscle memory in for a little bit. Like, just keep doing what you're doing. Do the muscle memory work. That's the basic stuff of like, I'm okay. I'm good. I got this. Of course, he would want to hang out because I'm cool as shit. Whatever other term they use now. I'm the bee's knees. Okie dokie artichokes. All right, Miss Ellen, now you are up. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate you. You said next 3 months. And then I need to put Rothka in here for 2. Yes. I got you, Ellen. I knew you didn't leave me. So your sinusitis went away when you eliminated dairy. Do you eat dairy at all anymore now, or just sometimes? Just some cream in your coffee. I'm eating another one of these. I ate before I started doing these readings, but I didn't eat enough because I feel like my stomach is going to start growling. So if my tummy becomes loud and obnoxious, please forgive it. It doesn't know what it's doing. Okay. It's so funny. I notice when I eat, even just, I'm like, oh, I'll just have a little bit, like, those like mini little Snickers bars. I snuck one from my, 100 grams. I love all the caramel. I had like a little one and I realized, I was like, oh my God, it's the caramel. There's so much milk in it that I was like, I really can't. It's rude. My body does not like it. It's rude. Okay. I'm just trying to figure out what they're showing me because it's like a weird abstract looking thing. The first thing I felt like, I'm not trying to scare you, so I want to understand that, but I feel like it's going to feel like things in your career are spinning a bit, like out of your control. But I also feel like travel. Do you know if they're thinking about layoffs at your work or restructuring of some sort? Because it just feels chaotic over the next 3 months. So I actually stopped drinking coffee in the morning. I'm trying to balance my hormones and like lower my cortisol levels. So I start my morning with dandelion root tea, which, as my kids say, it tastes like dirt. I don't mind it that much. It's not as bad as dirt. And then I usually have like either like a tension tamer or this one I have that has like fig and vanilla. And I don't have my coffee. I have 1 cup of coffee now a day, and I have it after I've eaten. And I always start my breakfast. So this is also a neurodivergent thing where I can eat the same thing every day forever. So I have a bread that's really high in fiber, and I have a slice of that with some almond butter on it and some fruit. And I might eat like some kind of protein or something too, depending on how I feel, or some more fruit or whatever. But the fiber and the fat is really important. So then I don't have my coffee until, maybe 11 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning after I've eaten and have food in my belly. And I feel a lot more calm now. I've been really working on balancing my hormones because I'm sort of in that perimenopausal age of 44. I'm not missing any periods yet. Not that you guys need to know that, but I'm saying like but your body will start to prepare for that before you have the actual physical. So I'm looking at all of that, like the balance of hormones and stuff. No layoffs planned, and you do develop for a nonprofit, and I'm very aware of finances. No layoffs. Sorry, the other. It's okay. So I don't know that. I don't know why it would be chaotic over the next 3 months, because it just feels like a lot of spinning out of control. So it may not be. It just maybe there's shifts or changes coming up, like where I said restructuring. So maybe someone leaves suddenly and you don't expect it. Maybe, or they decide like, oh, and like we're doing a new hire or whatever. I don't see layoffs. I want to say that very specifically. What I saw was spinning out of control. So I feel like when they're saying that, and I want to be clear on this too, it's temporary and it feels short-lived. So it doesn't feel like I'm quitting. It doesn't feel like I'm getting fired. It just feels like it's going to be a little chaotic. So maybe that's to tell you, like, sometimes they'll show me stuff for people's surgeries or whatever. You guys have seen me on here with like Starry's guy with her wife when she came on here, and I said, oh, I see her, but she's going to have some oozing. And it's like they'll show me stuff not so that you should be afraid or worried about it, so that when it happens, you don't get afraid or worried about it, that you understand that this is temporary, short-lived. You don't have to panic about it. It's going to be okay, to try and help with that overwhelmed feeling. Okay. So I don't see you getting fired. I don't see you getting laid off. Fired and laid off for the same thing, right? Okay. Or quitting. It just is this feeling of like, it feels like it's out of control for a little bit, but it feels very short-lived. And I do feel like taking a plane somewhere, but I don't know. I honestly don't know if it's for work or personal. And that feels in January. So are you planning on flying somewhere in January? Okay. So that's what I see coming up. I don't know why you can't validate any of it. Do you have something specific you want to ask about, an area you want to look at? And then if any of this happens, of course, you have to come back and validate, but. Are you planning on taking like even maybe just a little 4-seater plane somewhere? I don't know. Maybe one of your friends has a pilot license. You end up going for a flight. I don't know. Okay. No problemo. Okay, I'll look. One thing one of my friends mentioned one time to me, she's like, oh, you should be reading what people are saying. And I always forget. I do make sure that, Ellen, I'm taking your name off the list, but please make sure that I come back to you. Don't forget to remind me, just because I know me. So it feels like with the name of it, it might be that you go from having the full thing to just being the initials and maybe explaining to how you got to the initials, like in your like about me kind of thing or about my company. That might be the change that you make that's easy. So it might be the initial. Like that might be what you end up going to, is just to shorten it for marketing sake. It does stand out, but it just feels like it might end up being that you move to a shorter name. Again, it might be like a marketing thing where it's like, or where you have the initials bigger and the wording smaller. I don't know exactly. But it feels like it's going to be both basically the same, but it feels like it shifts either the way you do the logo or the way you where you put the emphasis more on the initials versus the longer phrase. I do. Okay. Allie, are you here? Mallory and Rothka. Allie or Mallory? Allie or Mallory? Yeah, that came out right. Do you want to ask your question? Oh, I would like to own a cottage with a garden while I'm still young enough to enjoy the work of gardening. Okay, I'm gonna explain the alley. I'm gonna explain that thing, but then I'm probably gonna say ask another question because that's actually a really kind of like a great question that other people might want to know about my like thoughts on that, and I'll go with that. But think of another question that you want to do for yourself, and that to me feels like not a psychic thing, and I have no problem answering that. Okay, so I'm gonna come back to you, Ellen. So I don't know what orange calcite does. So Allie said, I found an orange calcite crystal. Was it a coincidence? My friend says that it might carry a negative energy. So here's what I say. If somebody lost the stone, it was not meant to be theirs anymore. That's my theory. And like you find it when it's meant to be yours and when you're in need of it. Let's look up what orange calcite. It's good for lower chakras or energy centers. These chakras are involved with our feelings of belonging to the world, being linked to others and to the planet, as well as our creativity. Might be great. So it could have, I hate getting this, like it's going to have energy to whoever it was connected to, good, bad, indifferent, whatever. So you should always clear something that you found. You don't, even when you buy it at the store, clear it. You can get an incense stick. I would clear it not with sage, but with frankincense or myrrh. And you can get those little incense burner sticks. They're perfect for clearing stuff. And you just smoke it around it. Or you can stick it in the sun, in the window, in the sunlight, or get a moon bath for 24 hours. You can smoke it. Works great too. And that's it. So it's not cursed. It's not like one of these Hollywood hoodoo, voodoo, tappy. I don't know what hoodoo. I shouldn't say that because I don't want to disparage anybody's stuff. But it's not like a Hollywood driven type thing, like where it's going to like come to life and start like knocking around your house or possess you. So that goes for anybody. If you find something, it's not a coincidence. It's meant to be. It was there, the universe bringing you a gift. So just clear it and you're fine. You buy a new piece of furniture or a used piece of furniture, clear them because people had their hands on them. They have been touched and infused with energy at some point along the way. It's always good to clear whatever you bring in your home. Do I always do it? No, but I'm just saying the practice is actually, in theory, really great. But I know we don't always do that. Okay, Ellen, I'll come back to you while we're waiting for Allie to write a question. Okay, so I feel like, yeah, you will be able to. I feel like it's a little further out than you're hoping, but I also feel like there's a shift in the way you manifesting or your ability of manifesting by February or March. So it might be something where you really start to realize how powerful your thoughts are, what you're creating, and what's putting out there. And because you're seeing like very rapid manifestation things come forward, like, oh my God, I was just thinking about that 2 minutes ago. And now I walk here and like, or I was just thinking about this person and they show up, or I was just thinking about wanting a free cup of coffee. And then like someone was like, hey, let's go get coffee, my treat kind of thing. Okay. I'll work on some other people's questions. So yes, and you also are going to have a big shift in the way you manifest and how easily you manifest, or like an awareness of it in the next, like by February, March. So I don't know, maybe that's a planetary thing that comes in that shifts things out. I don't know. You know what I heard was interesting though? If you followed me for a while back in, I don't know when, even years ago, I was always saying like by 2028, there's going to be major shifts in the way our political system is, like in our government, and things are going to really start being a lot better. And turns out that's because that's when Gen A is going to start being able to be able to vote. So that's interesting. So big shifts then. So there'll be a majority of Gen Z will be voting then, and Gen A will start being able to be voting. So, you know, you're going to see a lot of the, different processes, younger people wanting more progressive things, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that was a really cool validation that I got. And I think that like, I didn't know any of that stuff. And I heard that the other day. I was like, that's probably why shifts and stuff, curls everywhere. Okay. Mallory, what's your question? Ali, I'm taking your name off, but then just remind me. Oh, you did? Oh, no, she was going to ask a different one because I thought that was a general question. Are you having stomach stuff going on with you right now? Because I just feel really like not quite right in my tummy. And this is different what I was saying earlier. This isn't my own hunger. Just feels really tight. Oh, you already posted. Sorry. Sorry, Mallory. Is your stomach okay? No, it's not too late, Autumn. Mallory, is your stomach? Can you validate that? Oh, there you are. No stomach issues right now. Comes and goes. Okay. It just feels like when I used to eat almonds, my stomach, I would get the worst pain in my stomach. And that's the feeling I get. It's like just start looking at the pattern when you say it comes and goes. Start maybe even just keeping a little food journal, not because you need to worry about your calories or you're going to be obsessive, but just to notice what you eat and if there's a particular food that you're getting that pain with. Because it doesn't feel like indigestion. It feels like almost like a cramping, like your stomach is getting twisted. It's not literally being twisted. So we are clear on that. What area do you want me to specifically look in? Because it's like, I'm like, there's nothing glaring that's standing out where they're like, in like the sound effects in like TV shows, they're like, take down his hair. That would be like a car tire screeching. Oh, it's $12, Autumn. So the feeling I get, I'm going to look at your question or whatever you're typing in my response here, but I just get this feeling of like finding peace and tranquility. Like it doesn't feel like it's about finding balance the next few months is like really sort of something that you've been working on over the last year. And it feels like it finally happened. So it feels like finally finding balance within my work and my personal life, and also really learning to like honor my boundaries, right? So when we set boundaries, they're not set for anybody else. They're for ourselves to respect and honor. And it's like, oh, I don't feel guilty just like saying, oh, I don't have time. I have plans already, and your plans are literally to sit in your PJs on your couch all day. Like you don't have to be busy running around with some other person to like be unavailable. Okay, I see, Allie. Okay. Um, so it's just this feeling of like finding peace over the next couple of months, like having peace, finding peace. Um, and it might mean that some of your friendships kind of like you're like, oh, I'm not as actively participating in them anymore because they were very one-sided. But being okay with that, it really just feels like finding peace within myself over the next few months. Like everything's starting to fall into place that, I've been working on, like I've been intention setting and manifesting, and I hadn't seen it, but like it feels like that is what really falls into place for you for the next few months. You're working on your boundaries. I mean, really and truly, there's so many times where people are like, oh, I have to tell them exactly why I'm busy, or I'll think of it. No, you don't. You just say, I'm unavailable. You don't need to tell them, like, I'm going to be sitting on my eating bonbons on my couch with my feet up and my favorite slippers and my dog. And like, that's my evening. I'm too busy to come help you move all your shit. Sorry. Hire someone like I did. You don't need to feel guilty about it. You don't need to feel guilty because you don't want to pick up the phone every time your one friend calls and complains about everything. You don't have to feel guilty about it. You don't owe anybody a response in 5 seconds of them texting you or calling you. Just because you just sat down to lunch. Like, take your time, eat your lunch, enjoy yourself. That's okay. It's okay to put you first. And that's sort of what it feels like. Like, I've been manifesting this, I've been working on this, I've been having the idea that I want peace and calm, and like, boundaries are about offering you peace and calm. And oftentimes when you have to set those boundaries and people, you have to like really kind of hold them tight, and because people aren't very respectful of them, guess what? They get very angry about it. Ooh. Okay. So that's what it feels like. So I mean, it's like this, it feels like you should know that that's huge. That you're going to be able to find that within yourself. Nobody has to respect your boundaries other than you. Remember that. All right, Allie. I had a pretty intense dream. I dreamed that I came out of my house and there was a cartoon looking down on me. And I looked to the side and a big hibiscus opens up and I looked around me. And there's snow around me and clouds start spreading out. What could that dream mean? Thank you. I'm going to walk you through how I interpret dreams. Let me just like sit with it for a second. What kind of cartoon? You're welcome, Mallory. Be proud of yourself. I think that's something everybody needs to take away today, that be proud of yourself. It's okay to be proud of yourself. An anime cartoon? Okay, but like man, woman, male, female, non-binary? Did they have special powers? When you look at a dream, you got to look at it. Itachi man. Now listen, I'm going to have to Google some stuff. Can I Google Itachi man? Autumn, I have yours, by the way. Do they have special powers? Oh, okay. So he's a hero, dude. Okay. Okay. So let me look at this then. Because these are important details to a dream. Because I think it would mean something completely different if it was like, I'm trying to think of like, I was thinking of like a little hot dog man character cartoon. I mean, okay, so like the way I would interpret this is the way I'm feeling it. It's kind of this idea of like, so, and even just a little blurb I read said Itachi man was like, he was a hero, but they didn't know it until his whole story, until his death, right? They didn't know. So it's sort of like when you see him, it to me, I feel like this comparison, they were like, it's sort of like you're finding out parts of yourself that you never really discovered and the magic that you possess. Because to me, the hibiscus is like a very magical, I don't know why, it just feels very magical. And the sky opening up is about the cloud cover clearing, about clarity coming for you, right? And even in like learning your own story and uncovering your own story and your own power. So that's like the phase you're going to. While you may feel like, oh, I'm just this person and who am I? Like, what makes me special? And their guides are sort of showing you like, no, like really you are. And it's not necessarily about knowing what it is and get what the clarity is. It's just that clarity is coming. I want to look at the spiritual meaning of a hibiscus. Hibiscus meaning includes femininity. So on a spiritual level, the flowers are also symbolic of divine feminine. And it's important to know that it's healthy for both men and women, blah, blah, blah. Female powers include the ability to create and nurture life. And it's associated with Kali. Who knew that? And Kali is about clearing out. So if you look her up, it's like death and destruction, but she's not really, I don't look at it as like a bad thing. Like she looks scary, but I think of Kali as being like the person who comes and clears out stuff that's no longer working for you. Like maybe you set the intention of wanting to heal your belief systems. And she's kind of like, okay, you made this intention a while ago and I'm sitting here waiting. And you're like, you're not. So I'm coming to clear house, whether you like it or not. So changes are coming for you. Holding on to your own power and understanding too, like creativity and being able to create isn't about procreation. It isn't about being artsy crafty. It's like understanding, I mean, what more is there? Well, let me think of how to say this. What's more powerful than the idea of being able to create your reality? That's like what you've been doing in your waking life. She said, I've been trying to understand what I went through and who I am. So you've been like actively saying like what seeking that answer in your waking life, in your conscious life. And here's your dream going, bada bing, bada boom. Here you go. Rothka, if you want to ask your questions, just because I know there's a little delay. And what a beautiful dream. Our dreams do kind of give us answers and guidance to things, but sometimes it's in a really circuitous or abstract way. You're very welcome, Allie. Thank you for trusting me with that. Okay, Rothka says, question regarding moving. Likely we are not renewing lease at the end of May, packing up and putting everything into storage while my spouse does research abroad. Curious if there's anything about that or if I even packing up and subletting by mid-February to better. So we'll first go then and I will be coming in early. You're returning back to the United States for work stuff? Okay. And you're wondering if you sublet for February, March, April, and May? I'm just curious what the question is because if I don't ask the right question, I don't get, I get like a weird answer. Yes. Okay. Wait to put stuff in storage till May or do it all now. It feels like do it all now. And I honestly feel like whatever you sublet is going to be essentially a studio. It's not going to be a full like apartment. I almost felt like you cringed when I said that. Like you need more space. But I feel like it is mostly going to be you in the apartment, so it's fine. It's tight for initially, but it's fine for most of the time, and it's really more about kind of that idea of like save the money while we can. Like it's just me, it'll be fine. And I feel like it's near a river or something, and I don't feel like it feels like it's a, multi-unit building. It reminds me of one of the buildings I lived in on the west side, along the Hudson, and there's a fair amount of light in the apartment. Yeah, that's what I feel like. Like both moving out and putting stuff in storage. Also, mental note about somebody who's put stuff in storage for a couple of years and then realized like I could have bought all the furniture over twice over. And I wasn't even that attached to it and ended up like donating it all when I got rid of my storage place. So I could have like saved on just not storing so much. So it really feels like making a really big purge and really recognizing that like whatever you can replace, or if it's going to be stored for long enough that you could have replaced it and saved money on the storage, it might be worth it. Yeah, it feels like moving out of that place, and I feel like you renting us, you two renting a studio apartment, something much smaller. Um, oh, then no, please don't get rid of it because you definitely cannot replace that from your dad's apartment because that was definitely very nice stuff. um, it just feels like it makes more sense because for the majority of time that you would have that apartment, it's going to be just you in there. It's just the feeling I get. I just feel like it feels like it reminds me of one of the studios I stayed in. It's on Riverside Boulevard, not Drive. You know those big buildings that used to be known as Trump buildings. My company put me up there for a while, and that's just what I keep seeing as the parquet floor and like lots of sunlight and just it's just very simple, nothing fancy. And they're also saying you don't need to save as much stuff as you think. And I don't know what that means. Because I'm like, well, she can't get rid of dishes. She's going to need those. Okay. What's your other question? I am picturing New York, but I don't know if that's where you'll be. Because I know you're up in the Massachusetts area. And so it feels like there's like maybe a river by you. And whatever it is, I feel like it's going to be more of a newer-ish building versus being like pre-war or whatever. Um, it's not going to have those nice thick concrete walls that some of the older apartments have. Um, I keep picturing New York. I don't know. Would you be open to subletting in New York? Does that even make sense? Um, but it just could be showing me also maybe more in the larger city uh, where you live in the Massachusetts area, where it's a little bit, more urban rather than suburban. Yeah, it just feels like a bigger city. So it could very well be Boston. It doesn't have to be like New York. It just feels like, but it does feel like there's a body of water. Like I'm close to a larger body of like river or whatever. I also feel like my apartment is higher up. Like it's not a lower floor. Like maybe the 9th or 10th floor. What's your other question? And then Autumn, if you want to write your question. For all of you that come here and ask me questions, thank you so much for supporting me, by the way. If I don't say it, which I don't think I say it often, I always say thank you for trusting me, but truly thank you for supporting me as well. Of course, that's all right. This is in regards to your family situation. And I just get this feeling of you don't have to do anything right now, but things are going to start evolving rapidly and not like within the next 2 months and you're going to be, but I feel like within the next couple of years, you may be a main caregiver for children. And I could be completely wrong on this, but that was just the feeling I got right now is that in the next things are going to start evolving rapidly. And then in about 2 years, and I'm like thinking about the logistics of that. And because these children are in another country right now, how does that even work out? But it just feels like you might be, I think it may be 3 of them. Eventually 3 of them, maybe 1 initially. Wait, only 2 exist? I thought for some reason I thought there were 3. I thought you had 3. Your sister had 3 kids. 2 girls. I don't know why I'm getting, but it may be 3, and I don't understand that one at all. But 3 children. So maybe it's your 2 nieces and then one of your own or something else. A foster? I don't know. I feel like there's an age gap. So but maybe it's an age gap between your 2 nieces. There's an age gap though. I feel like one's older and then there's 2 younger ones. I mean, obviously, regardless of the thing, there's going to be 1 older and 2 younger, so there's 3. But I feel like it's an age gap, like one's 16 and one's 8. Like there's a gap. Maybe. And you know what? I think that's really beautiful and brilliant. It is not an easy road to travel. It's not an easy road to travel, but you are definitely capable of it. All right. Autumn, do you want to ask your question? And then Devry, you said you had another one. Also, if anybody is on TikTok and you want to follow me over there, I randomly do. Oh, it's in the PayPal. Okay. I do randomly do readings over there. I do them free. You aren't guaranteed a reading like you are here, but I just like pick a certain amount of time I'm going to be on and I do a few readings. And so if you want to join me over there, I'm trying to build a following there too, because I don't have the right algorithm here and I can't quite figure it out. And I probably should do more work. It is my_spiritual_friend. So I don't know why I did it. I could have done it all as one there, I think. I don't know. You're welcome, Rothka. Let me look on the PayPal. Okay, I'm going to just generally in my head say, well, things get better moving forward. So it's interesting because it's like this feeling of, it literally got, yeah. And some of it is really just, so I'm asking, like, the feeling I get of it, like what happened was, it feels like, one, there's a lot of miscommunication. And I also feel like there's like a level of disrespect in the way it feels like a manager or a boss communicates with people. So I feel like there's a bit of condescension and sarcasm that's not necessary, and like sort of creates a, I don't want to say hostile, but it feels kind of hostile. Like it feels like, I don't know. So I don't see anyone getting in trouble or getting fired. Um, does that resonate when I say that? Just like a level of like, yeah, but how are they when they communicate with you? So that to me feels hostile. Like, you didn't know what I meant. That's what I meant. Why didn't you know that? It's not your fault that they suck at communicating. So the feeling I get is, and I want to say this when I was like, it's not really going to get better. However, I feel like you start approaching it differently. So instead of taking it all personally, it's like, look, I'm going to come here. I'm going to do my job. I want to make sure that every communication is done in writing. So if he says that to me, I'm going to follow up with if he verbally says something to me, I'm going to follow up with an email, what he told me, say, just to be clear, this is what I understood, what your directions were, and keep everything in writing. It feels like creating a massive paper trail is very important. Um, it just feels like needing that to have backup. And it also feels like they keep saying like the term gray rocking, where you just go, okay, whatever. Like you don't give them any emotional response or reaction. And it's like, oh, I'm sitting by myself, whatever. Like just do your own thing. Um, I do get the feeling of starting to look for a new job in February or March. And it's not because you're getting fired. It just feels like knowing that you're worth, like you have more skill than, I don't know, maybe a new job by May, June. So it just may be a little bit before you get one. Like I said, so it's like February, March is, yeah. The feeling I get is like no one's gonna be hiring right now. I mean, that just seems that seems more logical than psychic. I don't know, but it's like February, March seems significant, and May, June seems significant for. So maybe you get offered the job in February or March, but they don't have the position open up until May or June, or maybe that's when you're really actively looking, like really, really actively looking. Even though you said I've already kind of put some in, it just feels like something different. Um, I'm going to say this way because I want to keep this in mind to you. Um, have this kind of an attitude. So, like Labor Day weekend, my one daughter, my oldest daughter was in one school for a little while for preschool, and I changed her for her last year of preschool because they got a new director in, and this woman was, my daughter was friends with a lot of boys. Well, she's autistic, so it makes a lot more sense now. But she put her in a class without any of her little friends, and I was furious about that. I was like, she should have at least one of her friends that she's familiar with in her class. Like, well, they're boys and we want her to be friends with girls. And I was like, well, if I don't give a shit if she's friends with just boys, why should you? Like, I'm her parent. And it was this really weird thing. So I was like, I'm pulling her, and people were like, how are you going to find a school this late in the season? I was like, someone will take my money. Someone wants my money. I know it. So it's literally like you have to go in with this attitude of like, yeah, maybe I had to go through all this work, or there's everybody's saying there's a recession and everybody's saying this stuff is going on and nobody's hiring, blah, 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 blah. You literally have to, it's like feeling like someone's going to hire me. I know it. No, I feel like what happens when you sit next to his office is you become just a like, okay, sounds good, like kind of in a robot mode. And it literally feels like very important to have everything. Okay, I'll email that to you. Okay, I'm going to just email that to you so I have that we have this conversation, and like literally keeping a paper trail. Because it feels like you can't get thrown under the bus that way. And it also feels like, I don't want to say silently quitting, but it's like do what's expected of you and nothing above and beyond. Do your job description. I just keep getting this feeling like if you don't put stuff in writing and make sure that communication is very, very clear, this person would throw you under the bus in a heartbeat, even if it was their fault. Like not wanting to take responsibility. So it just feels like it's really important. Like, as we discussed, I'm just following up on our discussion that we had in the hallway, our discussion that we had in your office, blah, blah, blah. Like it feels like really important to just have that all in writing. Like, so when I was a nurse, I had a patient postpartum. This was before I was a pediatric nurse. I was a postpartum antepartum GYN surgical nurse for the first 2 years. I say this because it was like maybe just under 2 years. And I called the doctor, and it was not teaching hospital. It was in Austin, Texas. It was not a teaching hospital. So we didn't have residents on our floor. It was an all RN staff, all female RN staff, and then the doctors. We had no aides. We made our own beds. We did everything and got our patients up by ourselves. We used another nurse to help us if we needed assistance. But I called the doctor because the woman had she was postpartum and she had a heart rate of like 135 sitting in bed at rest, which means needs fluid. And her heart is compensating. And so I called the doctor and I said, so she's just sitting there and her heart's tacking along at 135. What do you want me to do? And he's like, well, she's compensating. He spoke to me in a very like condescending, like, this is like, yeah, I know. So I said to him, instead of going, well, okay, like taking that, I was like, all right, so I'm just going to note it in her chart that I notified you and I received no orders. It was very clear. It was very concise. It was very, and he goes, oh, why don't you give her a bolus? I was like, thank you so much. Cause that's what I wanted. So it's like, feels like you need to know what you want moving into it. And instead of saying, but this is what I want, just be like, okay, just going to note that. Glad we had that conversation. And like be very clean, very clear, facts only, no emotion. This is what happened. Here's the result. You will get what you want much faster that way. Yes, I feel like you need to do it for both of them. Absolutely. It feels like it just needs to be something you start to implement where like we had this conversation, just following up. And it feels like the minute that you start calling it to task and pointing out that you're on top of it and you know what's going on and you're keeping records is when he, like it starts to kind of clear up a little bit, but it feels like you kind of have to be this like non-emotional, like almost like, okay, just following up. Like think of it as documenting legal documentation, right? So, and it's very important about the wording. So it's not, he's aware of it because you don't know if anybody else is aware of it. It's, I notified him. I'm notifying you as per our conversation. I am notifying, whatever, everything is notified. I notified him, whatever. It's like, keep documentation and records. It feels very important. It sounds stupid. It sounds petty, but it's like a total cover your butt thing. And it feels very important to do this. Okie dokie. No, I don't feel like it will. And I actually feel like the more you do this, the more you'll be confident about the fact that you're like there's no gaslighting going on or feeling helpless. You'll feel more empowered. So it'll be like, oh, see, no, we did have this conversation. Oh no, like this is what you told me here. Do you remember? It just feels like more empowered rather than feeling like we talked about this. I know we fucking talked about this and he wasn't very clear on it. Blah, 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 and now he's mad at me. I feel like emotionally you'll feel better because you'll feel more empowered. Like it won't be I know we didn't talk about this and he's trying to tell that and it'll just be more empowered. Okay. I'm not wearing my carnelian. All right. Devry, what's your other question, dear? You're welcome. To 8 billion people? No, I think maybe that's also part of it is just like not having it, like understanding that when you're building a business and a small business, it does start out smaller. It's not but it's using the strategies that work for you. So it's not going to be just one type of thing. So it might be putting it on Etsy. It might be doing a Shopify, whichever one you want to do, where you start. And then it's also getting on social media, putting it out there and talking about your product, telling everybody you know about your product, how much you love it. Like, you have to like live. If you read anything about what's her name, the woman who started Spanx, she started it in her apartment, and she had to get a lot of no's, and she went against like it's very male dominated industry, and she wore t-shirts with her logo on it so people would ask her about it, and she carried bags with it on. Like she just talked about it everywhere. So it just feels like that maybe like if you're, if this product, I don't want to talk about it because I'm not going to out what you're doing until you're ready to talk about it. Get a t-shirt made that has the logo on it, Amazon does have a marketplace for small businesses, but so does Etsy and so does Shopify. Amazon would be a great place too. It feels like going through somebody else like that, where it's already got the traffic pattern, but also get on social media and talk about it, or even have the product and have like if you don't want to be in it, have like, where you talk about it and you share it, and then have like I don't know, an inspirational quote or something like that pops up. So you've got a way, but eventually I feel like you need to talk about it and be proud of it and get it out there and why you love it, and get your friends to, talk about it. I would love some of you to write me some testimonials, by the way, because I need to start chatting myself up and peacocking a little bit. Like that's what you have to do when you have a product and you have a business, is you have to peacock. You have to go out there and strut your feathers and show them what you got and how amazing you are and why, like why people love this and why people come back for it. So it may be that it's kind of small at first, and then ask those people like for a give me a testimonial. I'll give you 50% off your next product, or 10% off your next. 50 is a lot, and you probably make sure you're still making something. 10% off your next product. So okay. You're very welcome. But it feels like it's really important to have. It's not you'll have to have some paid advertisement. So it may be like if you have it on Amazon, you have to pay for it to be sponsored or whatever. So remember though, it might be like, oh, I'm paying, I'm not getting anything. But remember that like you have to put money into a business in order to get money out of it. So, like with mine, it's like, well, I have expensive. I pay for the full Zoom package because it's a write-off at the end of the day. So all your advertising, everything is a write-off. Okay. All right. I think that's it. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Happy first week of December coming up. And I will see you next Sunday. Check out some of my other stuff. If you want a reading, please contact me on my website, myspiritualfriend.com. I do private readings, and keep an eye out because I'm going to have some stuff coming out soon. All right. I will talk to y'all soon. Thank you again.